Hello and welcome back to the Straight Line Path podcast. I'm joined here with my co host, Peter. In this episode, we sat down and had a chat with Brendan Newe. Brendan has been involved in business development almost his whole life. He started off with networking groups, starting with BNI in 2006. And then recently in 2023, he became managing director of Venture Business Network, which is a business networking group based in Dublin.
We talked networking, what a network is, interacting online versus in person, how to build stronger connections, the U game, and some great success stories. All of this and much more. Hi, Brendan. Thanks for joining the Straight Line Path.
Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me along, Aaron. And nice to meet you too, Peter. It's
No problem.
good to be here chatting about something I'm very passionate about.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For those who aren't aware of the concept, what is a business network?
Okay, great question. I think a business network is all about attitude, first of all. So a business network is where business owners or business managers get together. And what they do is they come together with a common purpose. And most often that common purpose is to help one another by introducing them to people within their own network outside of the network that they join, if that makes sense. But more importantly, I think in terms of a network, it is more about an attitude. And that attitude is all about helping other people. So you'll hear you'll hear about the law of reciprocity. If I help somebody, they're motivated to help me, or it's the way of the world, or you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. There's lots of different terminology around it. There's givers gain is a BNI concept. Again, one of the biggest networks in the world. Um, However, it is for me all about an attitude, and it's all about how can I help you in your business.
And you mentioned BNI there. I'm trying to um, piece together how did you get into the business of networking essentially?
It's a great, again, it's a circular story because what happened to me was I was working for Hallmark Cards as a sales rep. The position I had was made redundant. So I moved into a new role with a Cork-based company. They were looking for a sales rep or a sales manager in the Dublin area. It was a business to business opportunity. I had no business to business contacts, or so I thought.
Mm,
And it was a friend of mine, a guy called Paul Lanigan. He owns the Sandler franchise here for Ireland, Sandler Training. Paul actually introduced me to BNI. He was a member of BNI at the time, and he introduced me to BNI way back in probably in 2005, maybe. And I was probably I was in my mid 40s at that stage, and um, this was my first introduction to business networking. And I was absolutely blown away when I came along to this meeting. And actually, what happened on the way to the meeting was Paul rang me and said, "Listen, Brendan, I can't make the meeting, so you're on your own." So I went into this room of 25 business people whom I felt I wasn't good enough to talk to because I didn't have that experience with business owners. I had put business owners up on a pedestal. They were entrepreneurs. They were people who were so focused in life and knew what they wanted, that I didn't feel that I had the business knowledge to be able to converse with them and talk with them and interact with them on that level. However, when I went into the room, I was absolutely blown away. First of all, by the welcome, I was made feel very welcome. But then when I saw what was happening around the table, how people were so motivated to help one another, and it just resonated with me, and I said, I need to be part of this. So I joined without even thinking about it. I joined probably there and then. Did my interview afterwards and joined almost there and then, and have been involved in networking ever since. So BNI stands for Business Network International. Company founded in the States back in the early to mid 90s, I think it was, by a guy called Ivan Meisner, and really gave me my grassroots into business networking. And as I say, I've been involved ever since. And it's funny how things go full circle, because now I would have seen myself back then, although I was only a member of BNI, I would have seen myself possibly as a bit of a competition to Venture. Venture set up probably in Venture Business Network, the company I manage now, set itself up in 2008, I think it was. And at the time, I probably would have seen myself as a competitor to Venture, because I was part of BNI. And I got very involved in BNI. Over the years, I became an AD. I set up new branches or chapters for them. And I ended up running the business for about 2.5 years. The franchise owner at the time became a little bit ill. And it happened to me at a brilliant time. The company I was working for based in Cork were changing direction. Pat Guyn, who owned the franchise in BNI, gave me an opportunity at one of the meetings, said he was looking for somebody to help him run the business. The direction was that You Get It Back in Cork was going in, was just not for me. So I jumped at the opportunity to get involved with BNI. And as I said, we ran it for about 2.5 years, very, very successfully. Had a great team around me, but ran it very, very successfully. Huge support coming from the franchise itself. And go ahead.
No, I was saying it seems like a very positive experience, and I'm wondering, because you said you came to BNI when you were in your mid-40s. How would you approach networking or thought about networking before that?
Do you know what? I never even knew it existed.
Yeah.
So that's the honest truth. And I think one of the biggest challenges nowadays is it's not taught in schools. It's not taught in college. Like, Peter, you're doing a master's there, you're saying, in finance, and finance is all about business. But businesses do not operate in a silo. They need networks to help them. And I think it's an important element of any course, whether it's a graduate course or a master's course, that they would do some modules on business networking and the advantages it has for any business. And as I say, no business can operate without uh, some type of network around them. But yeah, beforehand, never knew anything about it. Never even knew it existed. Was blown away. And it's very hard for me to recreate that. I have to put myself back 25 years ago to remember how it impacted me. You know yourself, when you're doing things for a long time, you forget the impact it made on you in the first place. So for me, I have to keep reminding myself, remember, Brendan, anybody coming into your network now and they're seeing it for the first time, hopefully they have the same experience that I have had, because it just blew me away.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you mentioned that it's not taught in schools, and you're right. It isn't. It's not taught in schools. It's not taught in colleges, and I guess maybe because it's quite a soft skill, it's nothing that's very like tangible or concrete. But I was wondering, if you were to create a course, for example, or have some sort of modules on networking, what would be the most important things that you would teach someone?
Okay, so probably, as I said already, the very, very first thing is about attitude. Okay, that's and that's what I mean about attitude. Is you come to a network with a giving attitude. Most people, when they arrive at a network, they don't come to buy anything. So why would you go to sell anything? Okay, so the real purpose of being involved in the network is to gain people's trust and to offer to help them first. And by offering that help, you're motivating them to wanting to help you also. So definitely is a process involved, but the first thing is attitude. The second thing is being committed to your network, not just turning up for a meeting on a Tuesday morning or a Thursday afternoon or a Friday evening. It is all about being committed to it. So I suppose the third thing is really follow up, and that's what I'm getting to. You got to follow up on the promises that you make to other people. If the follow up doesn't happen, you lose credibility. credibility is really, really important for others to refer you to connections that they have outside of your network. Because another way to look at networking would be we are lending our reputations, or we are lending our relationships with other people to the members of our network when we refer them on to somebody outside. And that's so important. So when I lend my relationship or my reputation to somebody else, it's very important that they protect my relationship, my reputation, and do a good job. Because if they don't, I'm going off on a tangent here now, but if they don't, it affects how I will refer them again in the future, or may not refer them again in the future. So there's a huge amount to it. So the elements I would really bring in is attitude, commitment, follow up, and probably those are the three key elements. And within all of that, there are other smaller processes that we will put in place to help speed up the relationship building and to help speed up how members interact with each other.
Okay, I know that's great advice. So now we know how to build the relationships. We know how to, form these friendships. How do you become a person now who actually gets to leverage their network opposed to somebody who just has a bunch of, really good friends?
Okay. Again, good question, because some people find it very difficult to leverage their network and don't understand how it works. So leveraging your network is more about seeing the opportunities to help two parties. So I'm introduced to Aaron, or I'm introduced to yourself, Peter, and you tell me a little bit more about what you do. And then I suddenly recall a conversation I've had with somebody else in my network about a product or service that they're looking to acquire, or that they're looking to partner with to create another event. It's joining the dots, really, and it's being open enough to see where the dots join. A lot of people come into networking and they come in with an attitude of protecting what's theirs. Okay, so no, this is my seat. Nobody else can have any of this seat. I do all of this. Whereas if you come with a different attitude to say, hold on, this is not about competition. This is more about open your arms, and it's about collaboration. If you allow those collaborative opportunities come in, you're going to have a much, much more successful network for yourself. And you will find it easier to leverage your network, because when you're leveraging your network, it's helping two parties. So the people in your network outside of, let's say, your business network, but also the people in your business network who you're going to refer to members outside, but you're helping both people. And that's what makes it easier for me. I said recently at one of our meetings that I find it very difficult to ask for help. I'll offer help every minute of the day. I'll offer to help somebody. But when it comes down to Brendan himself, I find it very difficult to ask for help. And I've had to learn and challenge myself to say, okay, guys, I need some help here. Can anybody introduce me to A, B, or C? But because you do it naturally, or I find I do it naturally for everybody else, you forget about yourself. You forget about how to use your own network to help yourself. And again, I'll go back to Paul Lanigan. So Paul from the Sandler Sales Institute probably gave me one of the biggest opportunities from a work project point of view. But again, it was just because I knew him. He was part of member of my network, both inside a business network and outside. He was a friend as well as a network member. When my time in BNI came to an end, I was lost. I didn't know what I was going to do. So what happened was recession hit. You guys are too young to remember that recession. But recession hit, And Pat came back into the business and said to me, listen, Brendan, thanks very much. But you know what? I can continue on this now myself. I can take over. And just like that, I had lost my identity. Didn't know who I was. I used to be Mr. B&I, or I used to be Brendan, who can connect me to anybody. And suddenly I found I was lost, really. Uh, and so what I did was I went talking to members in my network, talking to other people, and Paul was one of them. And Paul ran the Sander Sales Institute, and he happened to get very, very busy at the time. So he needed another trainer. Now, I had practiced my training skills while I was in BNI. I ran lots of different training sessions for members. So I was really, really happy. Paul was happy to bring me on board. I was happy to take on the challenge. But the real challenge was he rang me on a Thursday, I think it was, and said, Brendan, would you be interested in delivering some training for me? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I said, do you have the material? And he said, yeah, sure. He says, come on over to the house and I'll give you all the stuff you need to do. So he gave me all of the bits and pieces, but I had to put the course together. I had to pick out the elements that were right for it was a relationship management course. And that was probably the longest weekend of my life. I went to East Point, to Oracle in East Point, to deliver the training. And thankfully, they liked what I did, and I got the gig with Paul then as a trainer for Sander Sales Institute, and it brought me all over the world. It brought me to South Africa, Moscow, Prague. It was great. It was a brilliant 2.5, 3 years. I spent a week in Dubai training Oracle staff over in Dubai, and I only did two courses. I did two-day courses. One was relationship management, and the other was presentation skills. But again, my network helped me and got me out of a predicament where I had no work. I didn't know who I was, and I found a new role for myself and a new identity. So, and for that 2 years, it was fantastic. How that finished was another story, but that's to do with changes in the US and relationships and all of that kind of thing within the US, and some of the work cut back. But then when that role finished, I was straight back into networking. I knew
Mhm.
exactly what it was I wanted to do. And I built my own network out in Ashburn, where I live in Ratoath in County Meath, and I built a new network in Ashburn in conjunction with the Ashburn Chamber at the time. I also set up another couple of groups around the city, one in one in Blanchardstown, one in Sandyford, and one in Clontarf, I think it was, on the north side. But the most successful group I had was in Ashburn. And again, really successful. And what I often say is the members in these networks. So when I had set up my own network, I didn't consider it. I didn't consider myself a member of the network. But I look at the members of the network and I see the deals they made, the connections they made, the business they developed through it. It's fantastic. So business networking works. It's how you work it.
And you gave your like your history. It's super interesting. And even when you came out of BNI, you leveraged what you had, which was your network, and then
Correct.
got to reshape your identity
That's right.
again. We had Kingsley on,
Yes.
and he's a master at networking. But one of the things we asked him, and I wonder what your opinion is. Say, for example, you have a much younger person, maybe in their early 20s, they've started a business. I might be a bit selfish with this question, but what kind of because they might not have the extensive network as an older business person. What kind of advice, or what would be the first steps that you would give them in order to build this?
Okay. So is this somebody who is a young entrepreneur starting business on their own?
Yeah. And like, say for example, they mightn't have that network, that or to leverage to help other people as well,
Yeah,
you
of
know?
course.
So there's a two
Okay.
parts.
So the thing about that is, okay, so we all have networks. We may not call them networks, but we're all members of some club or some organization. And whether it's the lads you play football with at the weekend, or whether it's a music group that you're a part of, we're all members of networks. And it is understanding that those networks are as valuable to us starting out, definitely starting out, as any network that you might join with a business focus. So I would say, first of all, we have networks. We're all part of networks. We all bring something to the table. And you got to think about the best way when you join a new network. It is not about just helping the members in the group get more business. You can help them in lots of different ways. So you have a business, you can offer skills or advice, even though you might be young, you can offer skills, you can offer advice, you can bring other people along to a network. Whether they join or not is irrelevant. It's just making new connections to members in your network. So I would say youth should not be a barrier to connecting or joining a network. Actually, it's a great positive step, because you know what? Old fogies like me, we've lots of experience and we love to help people. I hope that that's what people feel when they come into the network from day one, that it
Mm.
is a supportive, focused business network that will give young, old, new, doesn't matter who it is, opportunities and support to help them build their business. And I think so for a young person, let age not be a barrier. Actually, I'm looking at the structure of our membership at the moment, and I'm saying I need young people in the network, because the old fogies, the guys who've been in there 15, 16 years, they won't like me calling them old fogies. So I call them more senior members. The more senior members of the network, some of them are coming towards retirement. Like we have members in the network now that have been there 15, 16 years, almost as long as Venture Business Network is on the go. But some of them are coming to retirement age, or taking the foot off the gas a little bit and preparing for retirement. So I want young, new entrepreneurs in. And I think actually for young people, it's going to make me sound really old, but I think for young people, they need networks around them, because they're not as good at interacting in person
Mm-hmm.
as the older generations were. And I would put a lot of that down to one, technology. Even the fact that we can do this is great. I could be sitting in Dubai, or I could be sitting in Australia. This is great, that we can interact like this. But human interaction, we're all human beings, and we need that human interaction with each other. And I see it within my own children. Children, they're adults now, but you know, if they want to talk to somebody, I send them a text. I pick up the phone and talk to them. Whereas the younger generation tend to want to send a text. And that's a bit of a generalization, I know, but it's what I perceive and it's what I see out there. So I think for young people, they will need business networking, in-person business networking, more than probably our generation did, just to help them to develop communication skills. And like that's the other thing about networking, and when you do it on a regular basis, you're honing lots of different skills. You're honing your presentation skills, you're honing your communication skills, you're honing just that uh, ability to listen to other members. Like, there's so much more going on within a business network, within membership of a business network, than just getting business. And don't get me wrong, we're all in there to get business. What's in it for me is as very important as how can I help you? But the attitude has to be, first of all, how can I help you? But there's so much more going on. We're picking up golden nuggets from people all the time. Just by listening to their interactions with other members, you're picking up nuggets of information that will help you in your business, no matter what it is. There's so much more going on.
I completely agree with that in person. But for those who are going to backlash, like you said, we can interact like this online. Me
Yes.
and you, we just met today. We're talking online. For those who say, I could do all of this online, why is that, or why do you disagree with that statement? Why do you think the
Oh,
in person is still important?
okay. I don't disagree with it. I think because I think this medium of interaction is absolutely a vital tool, and it is a practicable tool for today's society. But if it was the only way we were communicating, you can't see what I'm doing with my hands. We communicate with our full body. All you can see is my face. And you know what? There's a statistic out there, and I'm very conscious of it here and on this interview, that doing interactions online like this, do you know who the person looks at the most when they're looking at a screen?
Themselves.
Themselves. 80% of the time is spent looking at themselves. So we're missing out on, or like I'm not seeing how you're reacting to me because I'm looking straight at the camera. So I'm not looking at your image. I'm looking straight at the camera. I don't know. I can't see whether you're sticking your tongue out at me or making funny gestures to each other. So I do think it's really, although this is a hugely important medium of communication, we miss out on so much more in terms of the full body communication. Um, and that's another element that I would include in a course of networking, is that communication piece. It is so relevant. And I don't know whether you feel that. Do you feel I'll return the question. I'll turn the question around on you guys. Do you feel you miss out at all? Or do you think this really does suffice for your needs?
I think it's like what you said, it's a great compliment. And in a scenario, like you said, where it's not feasible to do it in person, maybe you could be in your penthouse in Dubai right now and, we can discuss, but I think it's important that you can build on those online relationships in person.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the mix is quite good. Uh, Having both um, elements available to you is quite good. So during COVID time, in Venture, we ran online meetings, and then when we came back, we kept the online presence for a while, as long as the members wanted it. But then we ended up going back, reverting to in-person meetings only. Now we kept the online piece going because we had people dialing in from other countries. I had members who were based down in Galway or in Cork, and they would ring into our Friday meeting. But I very quickly, when I came on board, I'm involved with Venture since 2023. Very quickly, when I came on board, I saw the weakest branches that we had were the ones that were online only. And when in-person meetings started again, even those members who had joined online started to not show up for a meeting or can't make that meeting. I have an in-person meeting to go to. So they were valuing the in-person meetings above the online experience. So eventually I dropped, although I still have the hybrid facility available for our Friday meeting. We did eventually, when we had a lady who used to ring into us from Portugal every Friday morning, and her business went in a different direction. She ended up doing a lot more business in Portugal and didn't need the Irish market as much. She stepped away then, and suddenly there was only one or two people online, and it's a different experience for them. I think what's necessary is it's all online, all offline. The
Mm.
combination of both in a hybrid setting. I think the people online miss out because of the communication hasn't kept up. The technology hasn't kept up with the requirements of hybrid meetings. So even our own meeting here, we're not talking across one another. But you put people in a room and the natural banter starts. So the people outside of that room miss out completely. They can't hear what's going on. People are talking across each other, and it's just a noise, which can be very, very frustrating for somebody online. And that might come down to the moderator or whatever, to keep the peace and to keep people on track. However, it's not a natural situation for the people in the room to have to wait to speak to somebody online. It just doesn't come. So for me, it's a big challenge for me. I'm actually reintroducing, I just announced it this week, I'm reintroducing the venture, online one-to-ones. So once a month, any member can come online, do a one-to-one with another member from another branch. And I'm reintroducing that from the middle of April. I'm calling it Ventures Monthly Online One, or Ventures Online Monthly One-to-One, whatever. Something. But that's to give people and members a further opportunity to meet members from other branches.
Yeah. I guess the natural flow of conversation as well would be probably one of my main reasons for wanting to do this podcast or transition to an in person. So hopefully we can do that one day. But looking at online versus in person, I think to answer the question previously, I think in person nothing beats it, and it'll be interesting to see how the workforce changes as well, with companies starting to do more in person. But I have a statistic here because I was looking at channels of acquisition for businesses. But when you look at the reality of the situation, like I have a statistic here that says 65% of new business comes from referrals. And this is for small businesses. Now, everyone likes to measure marketing, their emails, their ads, and stuff like that. But I don't see a lot of emphasis being placed on networking and referrals. Is there ways of measuring that, or and how would you advise someone to actually set up a system for this channel of acquisition?
Are you looking to set up a network in competition with me? Do you want all the insight?
No, not.
So everything should be measured. So we record everything at our meetings. So we record the number of connections. So first of all, we record attendance. Then we
Mhm.
record the number of one-to-ones that people have. And let me explain. A one-to-one would be a meeting like this outside of our normal weekly meeting. If we meet another member to discuss business, not just to have a pint or to have a cup of coffee, but it has to have a function. It has to have a purpose that is around business. So we call that a one-to-one. And that is a conversation. If you don't do the one-to-one, you're not learning more about people. We're not learning more about who they know, who they're doing business with. It's very important that you do the one-to-ones. From those one-to-ones, then we get connections. So we measure the number of connections. So a connection is an introduction to somebody outside of the network that one, you may not have asked for, or two, it was an opportunity for collaboration. So it's an introduction to somebody else outside of the network. We call that a connection. If that introduction turns into business, we call that a conversion. It's converted business. So we measure the amount of converted business. We also measure the number of potential members or visitors that come to each of the meetings. And did I say we measure attendance? We measure attendance as well. So all of those things are very important to be measured. The statistic. So I actually just did a video recently, and I asked that very question. So lots of businesses get business through referrals, and then you just said 65% of business comes through referrals. Most businesses don't have a strategy in place to develop that 65% and help it to grow. But that's what venture does for people, or networking does for people. It gives them a process that if they follow, they will increase the percentage of business they get through referrals. So that's really, really important. So to answer your question, yes, it is measured, because you have a stat there that said 65%. So obviously somebody's measuring it. But within our own network, we are very, very, very proactive about making sure that we track the activities of members for two reasons. When a member comes to me and says, I'm not getting anything out of it, I can go back through my data and say, well, here's a collaboration, or you're right, you're not getting anything out of it. How can I help you? What is it I need to do to help you to get more? Like, it's not about, I don't want anybody leaving venture saying, didn't work for me, I didn't get anything out of it. If they leave and say that, wow, that's such a negative, such a negative word of mouth marketing. So word of mouth marketing is happening all the time. Okay. It can happen in your favor or it can work against you, but it's always working. People are always talking. And I saw a great quote recently. Networking is not about the people you know in the room. It's about how people talk about you when you're not in the room. So it's all about your reputation. And if somebody leaves a venture or another network saying, I left because I didn't get anything out of it, well, that's detrimental to my business. So I don't want anybody to feel that way or to leave under those circumstances. But yes, to answer your question, we do measure, and it's really, really important to the success of the members that we measure. And we also measure repeats. I actually didn't mention the repeats. So repeats is, let's say I get a new bit of business, and that new bit of business turns into more business, or it turns into a repeat invoice that I send out every month or every quarter. If it has derived from a connection made through Venture Business Network, we record that also. So there's a huge amount of record taking. And I've just introduced an app, but it's to build a database. It's to build an app. Otherwise, I'm tracing through sheets of paper and we record everything manually. So it's to help me build a real database for the business so that I can measure where the successes are, where the opportunities are lying, where the dangers are. I can change it. I can work on it and improve whatever it is we're missing that's stopping people getting the results that they want.
And having been involved in networks, like you said now, for quite some time and seeing all of these interactions, I wonder, has there been anything that stood out to you about people, about how they network that, you've taken note of?
Yeah. So you get some really good networkers. You get different grades of networkers all the time. So you get people who are very strong in networking. One of the biggest success stories we have within Venture is just an introduction that a small IT company got to home care business. It was, again, a conversation that took place in an elevator.
Elevator pitch.
Yeah, an elevator pitch. That's exactly what it was. But it was a conversation that took place in an elevator. And Shay, my business partner, Shay Cahill, he happened to mention to the other person in the room or in the elevator, yeah, I got a connection in home care, in a home care business. And since then, that home care business has grown internationally. It's become a huge organization. That IT company are still doing all of their IT for their international company. That is a huge, like, they must have at this stage turned 8 to 10 million in turnover from just that one connection. Now, that's a great story to be able to tell. And that's where the repeats come in as well, because Jason, the member in question, he's left the business now. He's gone into a new business altogether. But he was the member in question. But he used to come to our meetings on a monthly basis, and he'd ream off the repeat business that he had. Like, all of the connections that he made through, I won't say all, most of the connections that he made through Venture turned into repeat business. And he did 76, 80 pieces of repeat business every month, which kept his business going. And that one single connection, just through a casual conversation in the elevator, leaving a meeting, I think it happened. And suddenly got 8 to 10 million in turnover. And that company has gone on to become a huge IT company now in the Irish market. And they still do all our IT for us. Great business. They're called EKCO. They used to be called Ortis, but Ortis was bought out by Echo, EKCO, and or EK.co. And huge business now in the Irish market. And just from a single conversation. So definitely networking works. One of the highlights for me, again, I spoke about already, was the introduction to Paul, or the introduction of Paul to do that training for him. Like, you got to leverage your network at different times, and you'll get different things from it over different times. Actually, networking introduced me to Shay and introduced me to the opportunity to buy into venture. That's just through networking. And I'm delighted to have bought into venture. And like, I'm 64 now. Don't say it. I know. I don't look it. I know. But I'm six. But like, I don't really intend retiring. Like, this is a business that I can work on and help develop. Oh, I've so many ideas for what I want this business to do and to become. And I've been told on numerous occasions, Brendan, stop. Say nothing until it's done. Then tell people what you did. Don't tell them what you're going to do. Tell them what you've done. Because I'm a great man for lots of ideas. But there is so much I want to do with Venture Business Network. And I'm nearly on the verge of telling you what it is, but I won't. But I want to develop. I want it to be. We are a premium network. I want it to be better. I want to have it all over Ireland. We're only based in Dublin at the moment. I want it in Cork, in Limerick, in Wexford, Galway, Kilkenny. I want it in, so that when members from Dublin are going down to do business in these areas, they've got a connection there already. They've got a network that they can tap into to open doors. Because really, when you open the door, when you get a warm connection or introduction into a business, the rest is up to you. You're more than halfway there. When you get a warm introduction, it really does open the door. And it's up to you then to mess it up and not get the business out of it. Okay, your job is just to make the sale. The door's open, you're in. They're ready and willing to hear what you have to say. Just go and sell it.
Networking works. And
Networking works. Correct.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different networks out there. Like, there's Venture, there's the Chamber, there's the GAA, the LGFA, there's BNI. Like, and I would suggest, be a member of different types of networks. Like, be a member of, I call Venture a close contact network. So we meet very regularly. We meet on a weekly basis. So it's close contact. We're constantly meeting each other. But you've got the Chamber, you might meet once a month. You've got your GAA where you meet casually. So be a member of different types of networks, because it increases your network then as well. And it gives you an opportunity to introduce more to whichever network you decide to introduce it to. So it's really, really important. Do you know what? The best way to describe networking is, it's always been around, is the old boys club. You know, we had the college alumni and all of that, and we had those clubs. Now, I don't want to think that Venture is an old boys club. It's not. But it's that like the Masons. You know, you've heard of the Masons, Freemasons,
I think so.
with their funny handshakes and all that kind of thing. Like, that's a network. You know, and they really do support in lots of different ways their members. Like, I'm not a member myself, but I know I have people in my network who are members of the Freemasons. But they do it. You know, they bring it to a different elevation altogether, because it's not just about business. It's about supporting you in times of need. If you're, you know, they do so much really good work for their own members. But like, there's so many different types of networks out there, but everybody should be part and should recognize the network that they're a part of and value it. And I think if you don't value it, you'll get nothing out of it. So value the relationships that you have with other people and help them to help you.
Very good. And it's super important as well, that last point. And I do have to say, Apologize for bringing it up, but you do look good for 64.
Yeah. Can I, just before we finish, just tell you a little bit more about venture, because I really haven't spoken about venture itself. So, so venture was started by Shay Cal about, I say 2008, and about 10 years ago, Shay and I looked at getting into business together, but I just didn't have the money. My kids were going to college and all that kind of thing, and I didn't have the funds at the time. And just by happen chance, Jason, the guy that I spoke to recently, there in terms of the 8 to 10 million project, he's a friend of mine through another my GAA network. Okay, and so we're both involved with Mead GAA out here on the county board, and Jason invited me to a venture meeting. That was my reintroduction to venture, probably 8 or 9 years after Shay and I had looked at jumping into bed and doing business together. And it was only through that reintroduction that I ended up buying into venture and seeing the opportunity in it. But venture is probably one of the most focused business networks out there. And I mean that in terms of, we have what we call our top 5, where members get to, instead of coming in and say, I want to speak to anybody who has anything or does anything, it is very, very focused. I want to speak to Brendan Newe. He's a managing director of Venture Business Network. Does anybody in the room know this person? That's how focused we are. And I would suggest that Venture Business Network probably has the most focused tools in place to help members achieve what it is they're looking to achieve from their network. I know it's a bit of a plug for venture, and I'm sure it'd be foolish of me not to take the opportunity, but I really do believe that it is, and I'm a supporter of all kinds of networks, 100%. But if you want something that's giving people a little bit of difference, we are so focused on the specific person or business that you are looking to speak to. And that's a system that was devised by Shay maybe 10, 15 years ago. But it has remained a real stalwart of the process, the Venture Business Network process, member success process. And it's really important that I say that, because it differentiates us from other networks out there. So
just before we go, I want to say, so we've talked so much about networking, communicating, business networks. You've identified we all have a network. When we go to our next network, whether it's the GAA, whether it's yourself in venture, or it's to your classmates, if you could take one piece of advice from this podcast, what should you do to be better at networking today?
I'm going to borrow a phrase that I heard many, many years ago. And that phrase is, win the you game. So when you're introducing to somebody, don't talk about yourself. Ask them, what do you do? Or how can I help you? What support are you looking for? Not about me. It's about you. That's the most important piece of advice that I would give to anybody in any network. Win the you game.
That's excellent. We'll bring that one into land on that excellent point. People want to find out about venture. People want to find out about yourself. Where should they go?
So they can connect with me on LinkedIn. They can email me at either info@venturenetwork.ie, or they can contact me by mobile. So yeah, and of course, if you contact me, I'll send you an invitation to visit one of the meetings, and there's no obligation. Come along, see what we do. And if you like what we do and you think it'll help you in your business, we're happy to help and support you.
Thanks so much, Brendan.
Excellent.
Guys, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate the commitment to helping venture express itself.
Thanks.